But you know what? Speaking of grocery stores, and I wanted to mention this because this really ticks me off. I post this on my Facebook page, and you can be my friend on Facebook if you want. Google me. There's a lot of Jen Brien, so find a picture of my dogs, and you know you get the right Jen Brien. And I'm at the supermarket, right? So I'm getting a few things. I got a busy day, working today, and then I got to work tonight. And so I'm getting my birdseed and my dinner and the whole thing. And I'm in the self-checkout. I use the self-checkout. I'll get to the other story, by the way, about the mother with the pictures in the cubicle. But I just had to get this off my chest because I didn't know how to handle it, and I figured I'd ask you guys. I am in the line, doing what I do. I know Laura Ingram talked about, it's so funny. She was talking about barcodes, trying to find the barcodes on things earlier today. And it's true. Sometimes it's, where the hell is the barcode? It takes you a little longer. So you're in the self-checkout. I'm scanning everything, right? And I'm not in a rush. I'm taking my time. The woman in back of me is sighing, doing exactly what Ingram was talking about earlier today. But wait, it doesn't end there. So I'm now bagging my things at the end, now this woman's really ticking me off. She's just rude. And she starts scanning her items, and the stuff's coming down before I'm even done bagging all my stuff. So here comes her can of chickpeas and, whatever else she had, some weird sausage things, and everything's rolling down. She sighs again, comes down to the end where I am, and I'm just looking at her, thinking, And she's sighing and puts her stuff over to the side, clearly not happy that it's taking me so long. Now, I'm not, moving at a snail's pace. I mean, I'm moving at a pretty good, clip. I honestly, guys, this is one of those things. You have to be judicious in your battles in life. I'm really clear on that. And I don't say a lot about many things. I just sort of go about my business. I really was going to absolutely snap, but I thought to myself, you know what, Jen? Is it worth it, A? And B, what if this woman goes postal on your butt? What if she's got, who knows? Who knows? You don't know who's today next to you in the car, next to you if you cut somebody off. People go nuts. They get out of their car and they come chasing after you with a machete or, whatever, something that they've got in the car, a hockey stick. So I thought, all right, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to split and do what I need to do. So I put this on Facebook, and people asked me, how did you handle this? And I said, no, I didn't say anything because, you know what, the world is full of rude people. But why do people do that? And the thing is, have you ever found yourself in a situation where somebody is doing something so grossly inappropriate and you want to say something, but you're afraid? And believe me, I am not sheepish by any measure. I know the folks here at WRKO would tell you that, Cooksey and my big boss, Jason. I try to say how I feel in a respectful way. Sometimes I do better than others. But I'm not sheepish by any stretch. And I just didn't want to say anything because I was fearful of what the woman would say or do. I mean, honestly, people are nuts. They snap, right? Or should I have said something? Why don't people have enough sense to know not to do these things? This is my question. Are people that ignorant? Or I don't know if it's ignorance or if it's rudeness or if I don't know what it is. Have you ever found yourself in a situation like this? I'm just curious. And if you did, how did you handle it? Did you have a happy ending? I'm curious. Seriously, 617-266-6868, 877-469-4322. Yes, I'm getting a text says, I know what happy ending means. Come on. I didn't just fall up the turnip truck there, my dear. Dave, welcome. You're on WRKO. Go ahead.
Hey, so this was like a few months ago. I was just driving along a little side street near my house, and there was this guy in front of me in a pickup truck, and I could see him in the back window, just talking on his phone, leaning over into the middle console, and he's just driving like 15, 20 miles an hour. And I'm losing my temper. I'm like, come on, man, really? It was like a 35 mile an hour zone.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going really slow, puttering along. So we get to the end of the street, and I'm laying on the horn. He gets out of the truck, and he's huge, like the size of the guy from Orange County Chopper Senior there. And he's got like a big mustache. He's burly, man. And I'm like, oh God, what do I do? So he gets out. He's like, get over, take me on like a man, blah blah blah.
Oh my God.
So I had my window cracked, and I'm like, dude, I was like, all I wanted you to do was speed up, get off your cell phone and drive. He's like, just stood there. And I ended up cutting around him and I just left. I ended up calling the police and reporting them, but I don't know if they ever did anything.
Well, but Dave, see, that's my point. You know, just when people do things to yourself or other people, do you risk their reaction to, I guess, set principle or maybe, you know, I hate to quote Michael Jackson, but help make the world a better place? Do you really take that risk? Because I wanted to, but I thought, oh, hell no. Hell no, this woman looks crazy. I didn't know.
See, I did, but I didn't know who was in the truck. I mean, I could have got out and been like, oh, what's your problem, man? I could have got out of my car, and if he hit me, you know, I wouldn't have obviously struck back. I would have just reported it and got him in trouble. But, you know, I wasn't looking for any trouble. I was just, you know, pretty much just saying, speed up.
I mean, Dave, thanks for the call. I'm just curious to know, how many of you have found yourself in situations where people are doing really ignorant things or they're just inappropriate, and how have you handled it? All of these teachable moments. See, last night I was talking to a bunch of my girlfriends. It was my birthday, so we were sitting around eating pizza, gossiping, the whole thing, and we were talking about this stuff. And, you know, one girl is just such an idealist, and she said, well, Jen, we can all learn from each other, and if we just slow down and try to understand, you know, all of us looked at it in tandem. Shut up. Ugh, God. Lord have mercy. Dennis, welcome. You're on WRKO. Go ahead.
Hi, Jen. I was just listening to the woman in the last hour who was defending Sal DeMacy about that he had done many things for many people, and isn't that what we are supposed to expect? Isn't that what we're entitled to when somebody's a public servant?
Yes, absolutely.
So it should not be any defense. And, you know, mind you, because I don't know what a confrontation with a person would result in, I probably don't bring this to their attention, but now I can do it anonymously, that, you know, when somebody says, well, this politician got me a job or this politician helped me out in getting a job, you know what? If it took the politician to get you the job, you're probably not qualified for the job.
Well, no, that's not always true. Dennis, thanks for the call. That's not always true. I mean, there are plenty of people who get a little bit of help from others that, you know, maybe they're just, you know, look, timing is everything. And no, I don't agree with you. In many cases, yes, this is true. I mean, you know, you don't want to take your gap-toothed relative and, you know, put him behind a desk, you know, as the governor's assistant. No offense or anything, but if they don't know how to type or, you know, I mean, you probably don't want to do that, but no. Okay, Ronnie, welcome. You're next up. Not that there's anything wrong with gap-toothed relatives, by the way. Ronnie, welcome. You're on WRKO.
Hey, thanks, Jennifer. You know, it's so funny that you mentioned this. My girlfriend and I, every weekend, we love to go to the farmer's market in Plymouth Center. And then after that, we go for a walk in Brewster Gardens to feed the ducks.
Oh, how nice. That's so romantic, Ronnie. Oh,
yeah, well,
nice.
You know, my better half just makes me a better person. That's all I can really say.
A lot of guys are dying right now. They're like, you SOB. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Well, you got to call it like you see it, you know? Yeah. She really reined me in. But anyway, so we're walking to feed the ducks, and we see two adults and a kid. And the kid is picking up and looking for the biggest rocks he can find, and he's throwing them at this duck that keeps coming up to the kid thinking that it's going to get fed. And the two adults just stand there and watch him and say nothing. So I say to her, Nancy, do you see what I'm seeing? Is that kid doing what I think he's doing? And the parent, you know, well, at least we thought they were the parents, just stood there and watched him. So we ran up and we said, hey, those ducks aren't there to throw rocks at. You get those out of your hands right now, and don't you ever do that again. And the kid looks up at us and says, I wasn't throwing rocks at the ducks. So we said, well, now that's two things you did wrong, because you lied to our face, too. And the two people, the adults that were there, turned out to be tourists. And when we spoke up, they just cleared right out. And this kid was completely by himself. No parents, no supervision. And when we told him to stop throwing the rocks, he got mad, Jennifer, and he clenched his fists. And after we kept walking around through the rest of the park, we looked over, and he kept watching us to see if, you know, we'd wait until we got out of sight so we could keep doing what we were doing. So we had to walk back and just stand there and stare at him till he finally dropped the rocks and ran off. No parents around, and the two people that were there and saw it first didn't say anything. And these were big rocks that he was throwing at a duck.
No, I mean, you know what? I got to tell you, Ronnie, here's the deal. I saw this, and thanks for the call. I don't know why kids do this. Now, my neighbor, I've had I've had an issue with one of my neighbors. Point being, there are some children that belong to the neighbors that were doing that same thing this summer. I'm thinking, I'm sitting out on where I live in my property, and I see the two little kids, they're whipping rocks at these beautiful ducks. And I would have said something, but this is the neighbor who put dog poop on my doorstep. So I did not say, honestly, I was afraid to do something. I thought, okay, that's irrational. So I'm not gonna, because I confronted them about that issue, and that didn't go well. It ended up with 4 cruisers at my house on New Year's Eve. No, seriously. I'll tell you that story someday. Vinny, welcome. You're on WRKO.
Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Vinny?
Excellent. I have a solution to the self-checkout problem.
Yes, please.
What you do is what I did many times. You get the people behind you. Once you're done, they already start scanning. Well, what I do is I just simply start putting, after I'm done with their stuff, I start putting their stuff into my bags, and then they take notice real quick, and then they stop doing what they're doing.
But why do people, what I don't understand, Vinny, why don't people wait? Why can't they, I mean, they must be smart enough to know that they should wait their turn. That's the thing.
You're right. I'm not so sure either, but I just think they're not aware. They're in another place at the time that they're doing these things, you know?
Yeah, well, Vinny,
so
thanks.
It works every time.
Yeah. All right. I appreciate that. Thank you. And you know what the interesting thing about it is? People feel odd. I felt badly. The one time I did speak up about something at the supermarket, I actually talked around the situation. It happened to me a couple weeks ago before this. I didn't confront the person. I talked to the man in behind me, and I said, God, people are so rude. They can't wait their turn. And the girl that was doing what she was doing heard it, but I sort of, you know what I'm saying? I sort of worked around it. This time I wanted to confront the woman, but I didn't. I was as scared, as my friend Ron says. Amy, welcome. You're on WRKO.
Hey, Jen. How are you?
I'm good. What's up, Amy?
Well, I found a handful of times I've kind of said something back to the loud sire person.
Oh, really?
And, I find a couple of times I've done it. For one example, I was in the grocery line, and I had my carriage, and they were in front of me, and I accidentally pushed my carriage too far and, hit them lightly with my carriage. I said, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, dear.
And then you get the,
yeah.
And I apologized. You know what? I said I was sorry. It was an accident. And you know what? These people back down right away because they're really just cranky bullies. And if you challenge, most people, there are the wackos, but most people who are like that are just kind of bullies. And if you challenge them, they back right down.
Cranky bullies. Okay. But what happens, Amy, if you challenge the cranky bullies and then the bullies pull out a butter knife or a 9mm or a machete? So, I mean, you have to pick your battles. So do you push back every time, or do you sort of assess the situation?
I think you have to assess the situation. It's one thing if you're in the suburban grocery store, and it's another thing in the car. Like, I never flip someone off in the car because you know what? There's the other person's driving what is really a dangerous weapon, and they could pull out a gun. But I'm not so worried about the checkout line at the suburban grocery store. I really think it depends on the situation.
Amy, thanks for the call. Speaking of cars, I just want to, a friend of mine was smoking in my car, and listen to this. This is a true story. I'm in the car, and she throws her cigarette out my side. We're headed to Boston, and I don't know what happened. I think the cigarette butt flew into somebody else's car. Oh, I don't know. The guy comes up from the back, two cars back, speeds up now. He's pointing and he's swearing and chucking us the bird and the whole deal. And I'm thinking, what? So he goes off, but I decide I'm going to pull up next to the guy. And I said, what's your problem? And he said, you're littering. Your cigarette went in my car. Don't litter, you blah, blah, blah. So I thought, then we sort of let it go. Yeah, littering. Maybe you should be careful with those cigarettes you're all throwing out your car windows. Elmo, welcome. You're on WRKO.
Hey, Jen, how you doing?
Good. What's up, Elmo?
I'm just like today. I'm going up 495, going back to New Hampshire, go to merge on to 95 when it gets up to Seabrook. And the lanes merge together. So this idiot and a little shitbox of a car, he thinks I cut him off. He's flashing the lights at me. You can see him in the mirror, ranting. Then he pulls up on the right side of me. He presses his face up against the side window, looking right at me, throwing me the bird, and I just threw him a kiss.
Well, Elmo, thank you. I appreciate the call. And, this is another thing. Yeah, hey, guys, really, when you call the show, there are words you can and cannot say. So just be advised, all right? Yeah, I don't understand on people that have to get in front of you. They see the lane is merging and they jam on their, they're going 100 miles in their Yugo. No, really, dude, you and your gremlin, if you have to be one car ahead of me and that's that important to you, go right ahead. 617-266-6868, 877-469-4322. What situations have you found yourself in where people are just acting ignorant, rude, whatever, and have you confronted them? I fear confronting people in today's society. Some woman she was throwing all of her junk down the conveyor belt when I was trying to bag my items in the self-checkout line, and I was so aggravated. I didn't say anything. She's sighing because I wasn't moving fast enough. So I'm just curious to know how you guys have handled it and what situations you have found yourself in. Everybody has got at least 100. You can also send me a message on Facebook, by the way, and an email, jenbrien@rocketmail.com. We'll continue to take your calls in just a few minutes right here at Boston's Talk Station, AM 680 WRKO.